education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationships, personality, and your values are some of the things that have not just eaten deep into your nature, but they have become your very nature. When was the last time you questioned any of these things? When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspektives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Perspectives. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.
Okay, good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for spending your time with me this evening. My name is Emmanuel Utomi, and you are welcome to the show that is designed to take you one step closer to a better life. You are welcome to Perspectives, and it is a beautiful, beautiful day. Before I go any further, I'd like to introduce someone I have in the studio, someone who really pushes me very hard, queries me very well. But I think it's my turn to get back at her today, so I've decided to bring her on air. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Denise Jackson. Come on, say hello to everyone.
Hello,
see,
everybody.
she
How
is
you doing?
clapping for herself. Actually, I'm going to clap for her also.
I'm ready for him. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Perspective. We have a fantastic show for you this evening. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be off the hook. And I am going to give him a hard time. So
no, she's not. She's going to try. I admit she's going to try. You're going to try. But it's probably not going to work. Right. If you're joining us for the very first time, like I said, my name is Emmanuel Utomi, and with me in the studios today is Denise Jackson. You are welcome to the prayer rallies on PRZ 109.2 FM, and this is Perspective, the show that is designed to take you one step closer to a better life. And if you're joining us for the very first time, hey, you can be a part of the program. If you have questions, comments, topics, concerns, anything that you'd like to share with us, you can reach us via social media or by good old telephone. If you'd like to send an email, you can send your emails to perspectives@przfm.com or tweet at Perspectives. And for us, Perspective is spelled in a slightly different way. Perspective is spelled as Paspektives. And people have asked me, well, why do you spell perspective differently? I said, because the show is designed to encourage you to question how you think, and as well as to help you develop the habit of thinking differently. The third thing that Perspective is designed to help you achieve is to get you to develop a solution-based mindset. I'd like to once again welcome you to the show. Today, I have Denise on the hot seat. So I'm going to be asking her loads of questions about the topic that we started with on last week, which was how to reinvent yourself. So before I bring Denise in, I'm just going to lay some foundation to give some context to what we're going to be talking about today. So you realize that for every single goal that you desire to achieve, particularly if it's something that you've never done before, something you've never achieved in the past, you will be required to either develop a fresh set of skills or to use your existing skills in a slightly different way. There might also be the need for you to develop new habits that will be in consonance or congruent with the goal that you intend to achieve. Now, we're saying in order to be able to achieve those goals, there is a need for you to actually develop or reinvent yourself. So today, I'd like to chuck the ball straight to Denise and say, right, Denise, I want you to share your views with us on what it means to reinvent yourself as far as you're concerned. You give us your own blunt, candid view as you usually would.
Not blunt, I'm not that harsh. But before we can do reinvent, we've got to know what inventing means.
Good.
Right?
All right.
And to inventing something is something completely new,
Yeah.
with an intention of making or creating something at the end. It's different from innovation. Innovation is something that is already created, and then you use it for a different, or remodel it for a different purpose.
Okay.
I.e., wheels of a tractor can also be a wheels for a car.
Oh, cool.
Alrighty? But inventing is creating the wheel.
Oh, okay. So what you're basically saying, therefore, is that when we're talking about to invent something, is like the dictionary says, it would mean maybe like to create something afresh, something that has never existed before, but for a particular purpose. I'm thinking, is there really any product or any service that's in existence that does not fulfill a particular purpose?
I can't think of anything at all that does not serve a purpose, because everything was created, including you and I, from the beginning, with an intention to be used.
Exactly. So it therefore means that when we're talking about inventing or invention, there is always or usually a goal or a purpose for which that service or product or situation is being invented in the first place. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, currently in the past 24 hours, we've had a new spaceship going to the sun.
Okay.
That spaceship was created to go to the sun.
Oh,
it's definitely different from the one in 1960s that went to the moon.
That's right.
The moon has a cooler atmosphere. The sun, it's crazy. It's differently hot. And even this new spaceship, the time for 1 minute, he traveled from New York to Japan in 1 minute.
Whoa.
So can you imagine? And in the 1960s, what was created to go to the moon was much slower. So everything was created for a different journey.
Okay.
And that's us as well, human beings. We are created for a different journey at different episodes of our life.
Good. So I think what we're for those to you, our listeners, I guess what we're trying to do, or what we're doing, is to actually create some form of context for this conversation, because we don't want to assume that you and I have the same definition for the word invent. So we've looked at the word invent as the creation of a product or service in order to meet a particular purpose. Now, what about reinvent? How if you were asked to offer a definition for the word reinvent, what would it look like? Well, what would it sound like?
Let's go back to the basic wheel again. I don't know why I'm liking wheels today.
Ooh, wow.
We can remodel it.
Okay.
So during the snow periods, in America especially, they put a chain around the wheel. They modify it in order so that it can be used in the snow areas. So it's a remodeling per se.
Okay.
It's a reinvention.
Okay. Good. Here's my own take on the word to reinvent. It says to invent anew, to remake, to make over. I think before we came on, we were discussing. I was talking to you about how I liken the word reinvent to this TV program where the home makeovers,
edition.
where you have probably a family that lives in a particular home, and what now happens is that probably they get involved in hard times, but their home. Actually, you know what? I remember there was a particular edition I watched where the couple, I think they had a child, one or two, and they'd bought this home with the intention of renovating and extending the home. But as time went on, they fell on hard times. So what they were basically doing was they were living off a partly completed building, which was really bad. I mean, you can imagine how things were during the snow season or winter season. So of course the guys in the remake home came into that home, took the family out, and decided to help them not just complete the home, but they're taking they made it new. But it was now centered around the fact that they had actually asked the father of or the dad, the man of the house, that, all right, what is it that you do? What would home be like for you? What should it look like? And they'd asked the wife the same thing, and they asked the child. And when they went through that process of remaking that home, they actually built or remade that home to specification. So in this case, we're looking at the fact that in the first place, there was a home or a house in existence. But at that point in time, that house was not meeting the expectations of the occupants of that house. And what therefore happened was that when this TV crew came in, or when these guys came in, they now got their directions, their purpose, their instructions from the occupants of that house, and now decided to remake that house to fit in with the purpose for which it will be used by the occupants of that house. So I'm thinking, when you're talking about reinventing, you're talking about creating or recreating something which will now meet either an enhanced need or a new one. But you're not building from scratch this time. You're just taking what has been in existence and refining it. I guess maybe likened to the story of when God created the woman. Okay, so Adam had been created from the dust of the earth, but when God was going to create a woman, he now took from the ribs of Adam and made a woman. So I guess, like most people say, that the woman is an upgrade.
Of course we are.
Why did I?
He just opened the door right there, and I had to take it. We are all upgrades. We're beautifully and uniquely made women. Oh, thank God, he started.
I'm not even saying anything. I'm not even saying anything anymore. Okay, but that's my take on what it means to, what I think it means to reinvent something.
Can I just take something from what you just mentioned? You said the reinvention. What we need to know is, why do you want to reinvent? You've got to establish that point, because everybody's individual need is varied. Even in a family, it can be different.
Yeah.
So the reinvention has to suit what you expect the end product to be.
Yep.
You can't start reinventing yourself if you don't know where you want to go. So you got to be honest with yourself to establish that fact. And then from there, we can start breaking down how we can help you all to reinvent yourself.
So again, it goes back to the purpose.
Of course.
So why do I want to reinvent? So I guess, having looked at what it means to reinvent oneself, we could now probably take a shot at what are some of the, and I know you've shared some of your thoughts with me on this. Why would an individual want to reinvent themselves?
Sometimes it's accidental.
Okay.
It's
accidental.
Yes, it can be. It can be a reaction, a reactive, of which forces a person to reinvent themselves. I.e., a married couple, one of them could have an illness, and then the other partner has to be the stronger, and then now manage the whole family, be the breadwinner if they weren't before. They have to reinvent themselves. They have to probably go training and get into a new job, etc. If it's a housewife, or it could be a house husband. Sorry, equal opportunities, one or the other. But they have to reinvent themselves. They could have moved from a different state, i.e., I know everyone travel from abroad, coming to England. They have to reinvent themselves. Probably speak more poshly. In order to go forward.
Now, listeners, now you know why I decided to bring Denise Jackson onto this show. So, by the way, if she says anything, just hold her responsible. I plead the Fifth Amendment.
I plead the Fifth too.
No, it doesn't work. It only works when one person pleads the Fifth. Now, I've already pleaded the Fifth. You cannot.
We will do dumb signs.
Oh, God.
But if I'm West Indian background, so someone from the West Indian come in a chat like this, so it might not work in the English society.
Okay.
Or if we do Igbo, like, haha, wahalo.
Exactly, or
it might not work. Pepe.
They'll be saying, what do you say? Could you say that again,
Especially
please?
if you're in court in law, they'll be like, what are you saying, ma'am? You got to reinvent yourself in order to speak in a certain manner in a certain arena. So
let me just capture this. So when we're talking about reinventing ourselves, we're basically looking at the process that you go through that leads you down the path of becoming the person that you need to be in order to achieve your goal. So like we said during our pre-broadcast chat, that when we're talking about reinventing yourself, we're not looking at who you become at the end of the day. But we're actually looking at everything that you're doing or not doing in order to become that person that you ought to be in order to achieve that goal. So it's that whole process of change, of doing those things, of developing the skills, the experiences, of leveraging on those skills and experiences that we actually refer to as reinventing oneself.
And also, what I've got to say, people, for this reinvention period, if it's a reaction, you can have short-term reinvention, medium-term, and long-term. I know you're going to say expand.
Oh, of course,
right.
Absolutely.
If you are involved in, say, I'm very realistic with my examples, 2007 when we had a bombing in London, you had a short-term reaction, i.e. a bomb went off, you had to react to get safe. Okay. That's a reaction.
All right.
It's not reinventing. But if you were part of it and you lost a limb, then now you have the short to medium term to get over the shock of it and then reinvent how you are now going to use your new limb to do the job that you're doing or move on to another job.
Okay, let me just bring you back again. Could you, because you've talked about reaction as one of the bases that will trigger the process of reinvention.
Yes.
And not only have you talked about reaction as a basis, but you've also further broken them down. But before we go back, because I just need you to break it down entirely. So when you're talking about reinventing based on reaction, exactly what does that mean?
You see, it's something that happened that you're not happy with.
Okay.
So it's something that is current.
Okay.
And you're reacting to it.
Okay.
So let's go extreme. I'm extreme.
Okay.
You are engaged, just about to get married. You probably walked up waiting for the young lady to walk up behind you, all glorious. She doesn't show. You got to reinvent yourself very quickly.
Okay.
It's not a physical reinvention then. It's now a mental.
Okay.
How to deal with the situation there and then, short term. Medium term, to see what went wrong. And long term, getting over it, stepping out of that matter, reinventing yourself so you are now presentable end product for somebody else to come into your life and bring you happiness.
So what I actually understand from what you've said right now is the fact that when we're looking at reaction as a basis for reinvention, that one part of it is actually so fast, immediate, that we're probably not even aware that we're doing it. To go back to the illustration that you used, that all right. So here's a young man standing at the altar waiting for his bride to be led down the aisle. Only turns out that bride is not coming in. At the spot of the moment, he has to make up his mind what he needs to do, which is a purpose in itself being established. But in order to achieve that goal, there are certain things that he now needs to do, or there's a certain thought pattern that he now needs to start to process in order to be able to achieve that goal. So it might be, where am I going to find her? Or what just happened? Or how do I deal with this situation? That's the purpose. That's the goal. So in order to find her or to handle the situation a bit more intelligently, I need to speak in a certain way. I need to change my facial expression in a certain way. So you're saying that that's the immediate quote and unquote instinct, knee-jerk response. But then you talked about much longer,
medium and
longer. Because you shed a bit more light on the medium and the longer, using the same analogy.
Of course, because you see, it's the same person who we're reinventing. He is actually going through a reinvention purpose. He's going through the initial stage of shock. The next one, and he has to manage this very well. The next one after that is a medium term, is now communicating with the lady who've left him, her family, and his family as well, who will be asking questions, especially if they spent a lot of money. And getting over the shock of the breakdown. It's two families that were coming together as one. There's now a rip by someone, or probably someone's expectation. They left it thinking, they did not go through the process thoroughly of thinking, this is what I really wanted to do. He, in this medium term now, is going to be either make or break. Is he going to have a good relationship with this person? Or is he going to be totally scorning this person and her family for life? And that reaction is now this concrete basis for him to go into the long term. Because from that step where he is, he may be now bitter towards ladies in the future for a very long time. Or he may be very compassionate to say, well, that was a past. Now I've got to reinvent myself for the future. Am I going to go to gym if he was fat? I don't know. Is he going to be doing other things to enhance himself? Is he now going to be looking for people from a different area? And then this will now build his relationship, his confidence, his self-esteem to go forward in a new relationship. And when he does that, he can be very victorious and gain all the victory from how he manages it in that middle stage.
That's interesting. Well, listeners, you are on the Prayer Rally Zone, PRZ 109.2 FM, and this is Perspectives, the show that is designed to take you one step closer to a better life. And you are currently listening to Denise Jackson, and my name is Emmanuel. Just so you know, but Denise is here. You've actually triggered an interesting point where you've talked about the fact that one of the core reasons why people could end up reinventing themselves, albeit actually in some cases at an unconscious level, is based on their reaction to an occurrence or an event or something. All right, are there other bases that could become a trend for reinventing oneself?
Of course. So that was the reaction. The next step we can have is proactive.
Okay.
Right. This is for the younger people. Getting involved. So these are the parts where you seen someone who's a doctor, you want to be a doctor. You are proactively getting the right GCSEs, the right A levels, going to the right colleges and universities to get that doctoring degree, and then connecting yourself with the fantastic hospitals to get the training to get to that doctorship. That is proactive. You have a planned mode, a project management kind of mode in how to achieve and get it. That is reinventing. Because they may come from a family who there's no doctors.
So what I'm hearing you say when we're looking at the proactive basis for reinventing is, so I find myself in a situation where I'm looking around me, either consciously or unconsciously. I see someone or something that's like an upgraded version of, let's say in this case, someone that I'd like to be like. In this case, the illustration you gave was that of a doctor. So I see someone who is a medical doctor, and I say to myself, wow, I would really love to be a medical doctor, but I'm still young. So I start asking myself questions like, all right, what would it take to become a medical doctor? So I need to go to school, pass my GCSEs, go to uni, read this course, and do all those things. So you're saying reinventing oneself could be on the basis of, I see a future goal, and as a result of that future goal, or I see a picture of a desired future, I now come back and I say, all right, I am here right now. What are the processes that I need to go through in order to achieve that goal at the end of a certain period? And you're saying that could be another reason why people reinvent themselves. Being proactive.
And it doesn't just apply to young people, may I say, before the ages people get me. Ta-da! We have had a cycle up and down in the economy where people lose their job, redundancies, etc. And sometimes they just completely change from the career or profession they were in and retrain into new ones. It's still the process though. We still have to do the process. Retrain, regain, reinvent, reposition yourself, and move forward. By the way, that's the key, moving forward. When you're reinventing, you have to move forward. You can't wish for things to be different and change and still be doing the same thing over and over again. You will never get the result you desire.
Exactly. Let me ask this though, because I'm going to go back to the reaction as a basis for reinvention. Last week, one of the things I shared was the story of two men who, growing up, they actually gave themselves to work, and they worked so hard, were able to amass enough wealth, build strong homes and so on. But with the turn in the economy, they both ended up skint. I mean, they lost everything. Now, the first man looked at what had happened and decided to be bitter with life. I mean, he blamed the government, blamed the economy, blamed his neighbors, blamed the weather as the reasons for why he finds himself the way he is. Now he's now skint, he doesn't have anything, so he decided to give up on life. The second guy, and these are friends, decides to look at his life, all right, and he says to himself, look, all right, so I've lost everything. There's only so much that I can cry about. So what I'm going to do is pick myself up, rebuild everything, and move ahead. So this second man decided to give life everything he had. He worked a bit more harder, worked longer hours, and ended up rebuilding way more and gaining way more than he had in the first place. So what I'm probably trying to bring out from what you've said so far, maybe a question in itself, is that when you look at the reaction mode for the reaction basis for reinvention, is it something that the world does to you, or is it something that you decide? Because like you said, the guy who was left standing on the aisles with the lady gun could decide to be bitter to all ladies, or he could decide to move on with his life. So ultimately, what really determines if we react positively or negatively, and hence choose to reinvent ourselves along a particular line?
I've got 3 different answers for you because I'm a Gemini.
That's fine.
But I'm going to answer this in a very strange way, everyone, and do bear with me. The first thing I'm going to give is an example of the 1980s, where 2 American teenagers, well, they were 19, 20 at the time, traveled to India. Yeah. And in India, they saw a lot of poverty, a lot of needs that were not being met. And they looked around, and one was like, oh, look at this scarcity, poverty. And the other one looked around and said, I see opportunity. And he said, how? He said, they're all barefoot. And that started some cheap plastic shoes, of which sold worldwide 10 times over. I had a pair. I had about 10 pairs, different colors, the American side. But yeah, that was an opportunity. Then here's somebody else, which is more home to the front, of which a lot of people don't like. Donald Trump.
I
am controversial.
Once again, just so you all know, this was Denise's idea. I did not. Okay, I'm not saying anymore. Just go for it.
He's still gonna go for it. Donald Trump, love him or hate him, it's like a Marmite moment. Marmite all around for me, must I say? But no matter how many times he has gone bankrupt in the past, etc., he always gets back up. Action. He always has a proven methodology that he works from, and he always apply. He always reinvent the last thing he used in order to move forward. He never goes backward.
Interesting.
Then let's go on the third part. Ford. The gentleman who started Ford, he wasn't intelligent, didn't have any degrees, didn't have anything like that, but he hired the best around him.
Yep.
So even if you do not know how to do it, by hiring people around him, he reinvented the motor industry.
That's right.
So to your question, everyone is different. How I respond to things is different from how the gentleman in the marriage scenario would react.
That's right.
But you got to react. And everyone does react, even if they try not to.
Yeah, I think maybe I just want to drop something in there that ultimately we will all find ourselves in situations where things might not always go according to plan, or we might end up experiencing results that are not so pleasant. However, we need to ensure that whatever actions or thoughts that we choose to display or harbor for that point in time or during that season would enable us move forward a little bit more helpful. Because whether we like it or not, once something happens, we are bound to respond or react. What I'm advocating is choose a set of action or a set of thoughts that when the dust settles, you actually end up finding yourself in a position that's way much better or equally as good as it was when prior to the occurrence of that incident, because you find situations where people go through stuff, and right there at that moment they do certain things or say certain things, and boom, it wrecks that aspect for God knows how long.
And we're not talking about marriages only.
Well, he mentioned marriage, but you know what? Yeah, why not? Why not? Because look, our responses to our spouses in the heat of an argument or during a miscommunication or maybe something goes wrong might define how that relationship moves forward, which means that sometimes the process of reinventing a person or situation or relationship could be triggered by one tiny event. And if that event is not handled intelligently, let me rephrase that. If that event is not handled with a brighter future, with a mutually bright future in mind,
Correct.
then that might actually spell the end of that relationship.
A breakdown. Another way of looking at it is we've done reactive
Mm-hmm.
and we've done proactive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when we buy insurance.
Okay.
We're buying insurance. We're not reinventing, but we are making sure that we're getting insurance so that there's no damage to our car,
Yep.
house, etc.
Yep.
We're buying into the future to correct any accidents.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same way like reinventing. We can reinvent as well so that we eliminate traits to come into the future.
Okay.
Anything that may be that we do not want.
Would this be under proactive reasons for?
Reactive, no, not proactive either.
Okay.
It's actually an avoidance measure.
Okay, so that's the third one.
That's the third
So we've
one.
had reaction or reactive reasons. We have proactive reasons. So now we have avoidance.
Yes.
All right, hold on. Before you give us your insight, could you just shed a little bit more light on what it means to reinvent based on avoidance?
So you're reinventing avoidance. You may have an illness or a drug situation or an alcohol abuse situation or even a relationship abuse situation, and you're reinventing yourself to come out of that situation so that it is not damaging to your future.
So would it be fair to conclude that when we're talking about the avoidance aspect of reinvention, you're actually looking at primarily negative situations?
It could be positive initially,
All right.
then it turned negative.
Give us an example.
The example
Okay.
you gave earlier about the relationships,
Okay.
that it could be a small little item that created damage. I am a great fan of movies, etc. And there's one called Ice Age.
Okay.
And that little squirrel with a nut.
Oh boy.
And knocks it into the ice, and then boom, everything goes wrong because of that little nut and that little mad squirrel. Same thing. You asked about society earlier. Could things of society influence our reactions and proaction? It does.
Okay.
Whether we'd like to admit it or not. When there's a crash in the market, we panic about house prices and paying the mortgage. When there's redundancies, something that is outside what we can control, it affects the home life.
All right.
It affects even the church life because the tithing goes down. Whoops, did I just say that?
Yes, you did.
It
Pastors, I've just for clarity, it's Denise Jackson that said that. Just say.
Pray for me. Pray for me. More time. You know, all of these things affect us.
Yeah,
There's an old saying, no man is an island.
that's right. That's right.
And even someone walking past us on the road as a stranger can make us react and reinvent how we actually. So pastors, if someone cuts you on the road and you're upset, remember God is with you. So you react in a different mode.
Yeah.
It's reinventing yourself all the time. It's like holding your tongue and saying, God bless them. While the old you would have said, come out my road. It is true.
You try that again.
We're being real. But reinvention just comes in so many ways.
Okay.
It's not, ladies, I know you all love your hair and everything. It's not just about getting the new wigs and the new hair and the new thing that pulls your girdle in that you can't walk and talk. It's
Wow.
Men wear it too. Whoops.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
That's a reinvention. You want to do that because you want to appear in a different light. You want to wear something. You want to be more affluent with these new shoes that's burning your big toes. It's life. It's the new bag. You got to carry it a certain way. Reinvention, the way you stand. Back in the 80s, I grew up in a grammar school kind of environment. They used to put a book on your head and you have to stand still to make your neck align or whatever. I used to drop that book every minute. There was no way I was going to be standing with a book on my head. It's crazy.
Wow.
But it's reinvention.
Yeah.
It is a reinvention.
That is true. All right. Listeners, you are still on the Prayer Rally Zone, PRZ 109.2 FM. And this is Perspective, the show that is designed to take you one step closer to a better life. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can send a text. You can send your text to 0757 260 5435. With me in the studio today is Denise Jackson, sharing her insights, or sharing some deep insights into how to reinvent yourself. She's spoken to us about the 3 major trends that could trigger a reinvention process in the lives of an individual. She talked about reaction being a basis of reinvention. She also talked about being proactive, or being proactive. And the last one we were talking about is avoidance. So, is there anything that cuts across all 3 bases for reinvention? Is there something that's common outside the fact that humans go through this? Is this something that could go through, that a family could go through, a team could go through, a community? Can we see a nation like in the UK, for example? Could Brexit be a basis? Could Brexit
I'm
be
rubbing
a
off on you two wrong.
Yes, you are. She is. I'm blaming her for this.
He only talks political when I'm around.
Yeah.
Look, the main. I was with a scientist yesterday, and he would have answered this beautifully. The main common feature for all 3 is us humans.
Okay.
There's no science methodology that we can apply to us to cover us as an insurance to say we will not react that way or this way, because we are human beings.
Okay.
We are unpredictable, no matter how holy we are. Love you, pastors. We are unpredictable. The weather can dampen our mood, and the sun can make us shine more than our back teeth. We respond to everything that's going on.
Okay.
We do. What we need to be conscious of is how we actually managed situations.
Okay.
And that is how we come in a win-win situation when we're reinventing ourselves.
So basically every human would at some point in time would experience reinvention centered around reaction, will experience reinvention centered around being proactive, will experience reinvention centered around avoidance. So as a human being, there will be times when I'm going through a reinventive process, a process of reinventing myself, because I'm actually reacting to something or someone. It could also be there times in my life where I'm going through a process of reinventing myself as a result of the fact that I want to be like someone, or I want to achieve certain goals in the future, which is being proactive. And there could be times when it's basically based around avoidance. So, like you said earlier, the one thing that is common to all 3 bases is the fact that anywhere you have humans, either as a community, a group, or as individuals, we go through all this.
Let me simplify it more. These are the known traits we're going through.
Okay.
Let me simplify it in a matter of going to a baby.
Okay.
Do you know that a baby actually reinvents themselves without knowing?
That's interesting. Okay. Tell me more.
Let's simplify. Fantastic. Let's simplify how they actually grow, what they respond to, what they do. Every single baby grows. True or false?
True.
So that's a reinvention with the original baby.
Okay.
Organ.
So are you talking about physical growth now?
Physical growth.
Okay.
It's not a deliberate reinvention, but they grow.
Okay.
Reinvention at the end of it is to grow.
Yes.
You can't have reinvention and not grow.
To grow towards a particular destination, a particular purpose, a particular goal.
They grow to be adults like you and me.
Yeah.
Fantastic as we are.
That's actually interesting that you said that. There's some research that has actually shown that a baby's brain actually doubles in weight within the first 6 months, and the reason is because of the amount of information it takes in. So the weight of the brain actually doubles within the first 6 months.
There's also a study that shows that if a baby is born into a large family,
okay,
and it's the only baby,
okay,
that it will start walking 10 months.
Oh, much earlier than the average baby would.
If a man and woman has 4 kids and it's the youngest, it will try not to walk 18 months, 14 months.
So one might be inclined to conclude therefore that sometimes the environment, and this time I mean the physical environment that we find ourselves, could have a reinventory, if there's such a word, impact on how we lead our lives.
Yes. Let's go biblical, shall we?
Okay.
In the beginning, God made man. Every single day that God created the earth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, well, 6. Every day was a new thing being created.
Yep.
And it was built on the past one, and it built up and up and up. It didn't build down. It was up, up, up. It was new. Then after the 7th day there was man, and as you mentioned, then the glorious woman was created out of Adam.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then we
the
move forward.
glorious woman.
Glorious woman. Hey, hey, ladies. Okay. But then we move forward. When then there became a civilization,
okay,
and then it was a reinvention.
Okay.
It was a reinvention, of the family, of expansion of the family, of agricultural, even of tithing, offerings, reinvention, expansion, moving forward. Then colonies and different kingdoms were being created. Reinvention. They were going for bigger and better, and it was reinvention.
So it's
a trait in us.
Good. So if I go back to how we started with the definition for reinvention, which said that it's the process that an individual would go through,
yes,
that will lead them down the path of becoming the person that they need to be in order to achieve a new goal.
Can I even be daring and say, wish to be?
Wish to be. Yeah, actually. So in every single form of illustration that we've used so far, we've always had a situation where there was always an end wish,
yes,
an end goal, and our activities, the way we conduct ourselves, our behaviors, our actions, our inactions, they are all either consciously or unconsciously helping us down that path, such that at the end of the whole process we end up bringing into reality that wish list, or that wish item, or that person that we like to be.
I don't want to be dangerous here, folks.
Feel free. This is perspective.
We're very biblical.
Be dangerous.
But in the world that we live in, God thought of us before he created us. He visualized, and then we were created. In the same way that we're mini gods, we can visualize things and then they can be made whole. So we have this thing that came in about visualization and vision boards, etc. These are actually things that will help us in reinventing ourselves. But back to the original thing of which we started this conversation is, why do you need to reinvent? And before we can even give you little foresights how we can move forward, you need to take time to find out, why do you need to reinvent?
Okay.
Is it just for yourself, your family, the community?
So again, we go back, like you said, we go back to where we started from, that why do we need to reinvent ourselves? So maybe it's like, well, one other way of doing that, of saying that is, maybe it would make sense to do a SWOT analysis on oneself
Oh, yes.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, what are my strengths?
Yes.
What are my weaknesses?
Yes.
What are the opportunities that I have at my disposal as a result of my weaknesses or strengths?
Yes.
And what are the threats around me?
Mm-hmm.
So, because the chances are we might end up reinventing a wheel that does not need to be reinvented.
Ta-da!
Or we might end up trying to be who we already are. And I think a standard example that is generally used is the story of Adam and Eve and the serpent in the garden, where God had already told Adam, look, God had already said, let us make man in our own image,
Yes.
and after our own likeness,
Yes.
and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea,
Indeed.
over the birds of the air, and over everything that creeps upon the earth. Now, God makes man and puts him in the garden. Of course, when I say man, I mean Adam and Eve. And then on this particular day, the serpent, who we know as the devil, goes to Eve and asks her, has God said you shouldn't eat of any fruit in the garden? And Eve says, no, God never said that. He just said, is that particular fruit tree, we shouldn't eat it, and we shouldn't even touch it, the tree that's in the middle of the garden, because we'll die. And the serpent says, no, you won't, because God knows that if you eat it, you would be like him.
Yes.
So the Bible says, suddenly Eve saw that the tree was desirable to eat, and that anyone who eats it would become wise.
Ladies, be careful now. Don't do that.
No, the ladies, is even subtle for the ladies. I mean, it's the guys that really messed it up big time as far as I'm concerned. So Eve takes of the fruit to eat so that she can become like God. She even had an argument with the devil, but she gives it to Adam. Adam didn't even have any argument; just eats it once and for all. But the point I'm trying to bring out there is that here was someone selling an idea to Eve
Yes.
of who she could become.
Yes.
Meanwhile, she is already wired to be that become.
Yes.
All she had to do was dig deep inside and unleash the potentials that she had in order to become those things. So sometimes I might look at someone and I'm quote unquote envious of this person, and I admire this person, and I'm saying to myself, oh, I wish I could be like this person, I wish I could be like this person. Meanwhile, within me already is the capacity to be within me already is the potential to be better than that person. That the only reason why I'm actually admiring this person is because they've had time to go through the process of becoming who they are now.
Yes.
So all I actually need to do also is, instead of, before I now say I want to be like this person, I should go back and ask myself, am I sure I am not already better than this person? It's not like using a phone. And like you someone comes in and they're using probably the, I don't know, maybe the Samsung S9, and they now turn around and see someone else using the Samsung S8, and the guy with the Samsung S9 is envious of the person
It's like a 10-foot guy. I've never met one, but a 10-foot guy folding up and going into a Morris Cooper when he has a BMW X6 outside his door. What are you folding up into a Morris Minor for, mate? It don't work. You're tall. Get in the BMW. Get in there.
So it's about recognizing the fact
Yes.
that before you even try to be like someone else, before you set out to reinvent yourself, before you put yourself through that process, it might be worth your while to take out time and do some personal
Soul
searching, do some personal discovery, ask yourself a few questions such that you don't, like we said, you don't get to the end of the process and realize that probably you don't need it.
Nope.
Or you've always been that person that you desire to be. All right. So
should we now move on a bit?
yeah,
As time is upon us. about you wanting to change. So what are the things that you can do?
Yeah. So
we're going to proceed.
Yeah. Go for it. Just tell us a few things that we can now do in order to. So you've done the soul searching.
Yes.
You now realize that, you know what?
Yes.
It is. I really need to do something to move ahead in life, to reinvent myself.
Indeed.
So what are some of those things?
So one of the first things, you've done the soul searching. Now that you identified you need to change, I got to change, is identify where you need the change to be. In what arena? Is it going to be in a certain business if you do your own business, or is it in a certain career? You got to identify, pinpoint. Don't make it general.
Okay.
Be specific with what change needs to be done. And why that is vital is so that you do not waste your precious time chasing the whole arena when all you need to do is one point. You could be saving time, energy, and money.
Okay, so where does planning come into what you've just said right now?
You've done the soul searching and you know what you need. So from what you need, now you then extract it out and see what's needed in order to proceed to reinvent yourself. Remember, it's under the umbrella of reinventing.
Okay.
So we've extracted out that bit. We now have that down on paper, wherever it be. You now see what is needed to actually execute that job, work, business.
So what I'm getting from that is actually twofold. So I've done my soul searching. I have now become aware that there's a genuine need for me to reinvent myself.
Yes.
But before I go off and now reinvent, quote and unquote, I actually need to be absolutely clear what aspect of my life needs the reinvention that will trigger the change that I need. So it might be, okay, so say I, like to use one of the illustrations used earlier, I want to become, my goal is to become a medical doctor. So first I identify where I find myself in time. So what do I have? I'm doing my SWOT analysis. So maybe I already have a secondary school education. So what do I therefore need after that? So rule number 1, I'm writing down. Goal would be to become a medical doctor. So what are the strengths that I have that will back me?
Yes.
What are the opportunities that are available? What are the things that I need to start doing based on what I have and what I know in order to help me move ahead? So it's about being clear, clarity of purpose in terms of what aspect of life that would need to be worked on in order to ensure that one is reinventing in the right direction.
Yes.
Okay, so that is about identifying where you need to change in order to reinvent yourself.
And where you need help.
And where you need help. Okay.
The second part I'd say is set task. Back to the short, medium, long term.
Okay.
I'm very hot on these because short term you got to know what you need, what you got to go and investigate and look into what courses, back to the medical doctor, what courses, what grades you need, not just the courses. Be realistic. Go for the grades as well. And if you think you're going to be shortfall on the grades, what help do you need? Mentorship, extra curriculum classes, all of this is out there. It's not new. Go and find it.
Let me push you a little on that bit. Let's assume we change the scenario from someone who's trying to become maybe a medical doctor. Let's say it's a relationship that is not going well. I mean, there's some frictions in this relationship, and the goal, ideally, expectedly, is that one of the parties, say the lady this time, her desire is to ensure that she is in a worthwhile, loving relationship. So that's her goal. And in this case, you're saying she should identify exactly what aspect of the relationship is in trouble that she would need to work on. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Now, you're talking about setting tasks. So how could she possibly go about setting short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals?
She has to communicate with the other partner.
Good.
To ensure that the two of them are on the same road, they're traveling the same journey.
Okay.
What I like about relationship, and I'm not a relationship counselor, immediately. I'll just
that's
take
what
that,
she
cover
would
myself.
like to say.
That's what I'd like to say, but I always seem to have a lot to say on it. I don't know why. I love marriages. I support marriages. God said where two are put together, no man shall destroy, including the person in the marriage. Don't bite me to my words, but I gotta swallow my own medicine. Please, everybody, I love you all. But with a relationship, two of you got to travel on the same road.
Yep.
It's a partnership. If one is traveling north and the other one is traveling south, you're both not traveling in the same direction.
Okay.
You're going in different ways. So if there's no communication, you ain't got a relationship.
Okay. So again, probably the initial goal for the starting point for reinvention in the case of a relationship would be to ensure that both parties are actually heading down the same direction.
Yes, please.
That when they're saying, okay, we need this relationship to be successful, that their definitions of success for that relationship is actually the same thing. So the husband or the guy saying to the lady or vice versa, all right, when you say you want this relationship to be successful, exactly what do you mean?
Thank you.
When it becomes successful, what would be in it? What would be out of it? What would it look like? So that we're all singing from the same hymn book.
Shades.
Okay, so
Yes.
that would take us back to the first one where it says identify where you need the change for yourself to reinvent. Okay, it also goes into the fact that each party is now able to identify the roles that they play in that process of.
Yep.
So I know that my path in ensuring that this relationship becomes what it ought to be,
Yes.
or reflects the success that we're talking about, is that this is what is required of me and this is what is required of you.
Yes.
So that's where the planning phase starts. So it's on that basis that we now have a short time, a medium time, and a long time goal.
You see, another thing about reinvention in a relationship, and it sounds very strange and odd, guys. I know single ladies, get used to it. When you are married, you can't carry on like you're still a single lady, love. You can't be doing the things that you used to do.
Could you give me an exactly what do you mean when you say
Well,
that?
you know, them tight little skirt things and down to the club on a Friday evening, honey. You know, the 419 and all of that. But it can't work when you're in a marriage. No, honey. It doesn't work with them heels and pushing a pushchair, honey.
So
Reinventing.
no, go on. I'm not saying this.
I don't live in the UK, by the way. I'm going to move. But it is. It's men. You can't have all the friends you used to have when you're in a marriage. Reinvention. You are now two together. You can't carry on as if you're individual lives. If you want to have the separate bank accounts, great. But remember, you still got to look after the one household. It is a marriage. Children may come involved. If they come in and see a separation of mom and dad, they will start acting separate as well. It's got to be unified.
Right. Our time is far spent, and you know what, Denise, I'd like to say a very, very, very big thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in to share your wisdom with us on the issue of reinvention. And hey, we will be bringing Denise back on to this because she's not done yet. I guarantee she's not done yet. She ain't done yet. But you know what, listeners, I am so thankful to you. Thank you for sharing your time with us this evening. And I would like to close by saying, please, whatever it is you do this week, take one step, no matter how small, that you know will lead you down the path of that process of reinvention. And as you do that, come on, watch your life change and watch it change for the good. So until we meet again, same time, same station, I'd say God bless you and bye-bye.
Culture, education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationships, personality, and your values are some of the things that have not just eaten deep into your nature, but they have become your very nature. When was the last time you questioned any of these things? When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspektives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Perspectives. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.